All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's so great to be here with you all tonight. I appreciate you all taking time to come to learn about Delaware Law School and the law school application process. My name is Carly Gardner. I'm the Assistant Dean of Admissions here at Delaware Law School. I've been here for about 7 years. I'm also a very proud Delaware Law alum, so I've been part of the Widener Delaware Law family for a lot longer than that. Um, and so again, I'm just really thrilled to see so many folks here interested in the program, interested in law school generally. I firmly believe in the versatility of a JD, the value of a JD, and I truly believe we need more leaders with a JD. So I'd love to see all of you here. I'm really excited to be speaking with you tonight. I'm joined here tonight by my colleague, Heather Hope Curavilla. She's going to help walk us through some of these things in our presentation, which we'll get started with in a minute. And what we'll do, just because of the size of the group, this is great. It can be intimate, conversational, if anybody has questions, but I do think it might be most helpful if we save questions maybe for the end or at appropriate intervals kind of throughout the presentation. And we're happy to take those questions in the chat, or, if you're all comfortable, just unmute yourself and jump in, or use the raise hand function, and we can do things that way. But we hope that you walk away from here tonight. The goal is that you get a better sense of who we are, the community that we are a part of, and you have a better sense of the process to apply to law school. We don't want the process to be confusing or unclear in any way. We're here to help you, to be resources for all of you, so that this process is smooth, and we can kind of help you along on the way on your journey to law school and hopefully legal practice. So with that, I want to turn things over to Heather Hope Curavilla to get us started here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Hope Curavilla. I'm the admissions counselor here at Delaware Law School. I've been with the law school for just about a year and a half. I am not a graduate of this law school, but I'm really proud to be part of the community here, and I'm excited to talk with all of you tonight about the school and the application process. Um, so this is sharing our entire team in the admissions office. You should feel comfortable and encouraged to reach out to any of us should you have any questions as you're going through the process of applying. If you have any questions about the status of your application or anything like that, and we will go over that tonight, but you can reach out to any of us. We're all here to help you and support you as you navigate this journey. So, oops. Okay, here we go. So this is a little bit of a table of contents slide for what I'll be talking with you about. So our location, enrollment options, scholarships, signature programs, experiential learning, and then career development, alumni network, and mentorship. So at the end of this section, there is a slide set aside for questions. So if you have any, happy to answer them, but let's hold them till we get there in case I'm going to answer it for you. Okay. So first, our location. So we are located in Wilmington, Delaware. We are just south of the Pennsylvania border and easy access to the entire legal market of the, greater Northeast region. So we are on a separate campus from the main campus in Chester, Pennsylvania. So when you're on our campus, you are engaging with other people affiliated with the law school in some way. That means everyone you meet, everyone you encounter is going to be a law student or in one of our law graduate programs, or they're a staff member or they're a faculty member. It makes for a really tight-knit community. It makes it really easy to get to know other members of the law school, to, meet up with people from class that you might meet or from student organizations. We are about 20 minutes from the main campus. We're about 50-minute commute to Philadelphia. And then to get to New York City by bus or bus or train or car, it's going to be, about 2.5 hours or so. We all know how North Jersey and New York traffic can be, so we can't give an exact number. Baltimore is about an hour and a half. DC, again, DC traffic. I want to say it's 2.5 hours. It could be three. But that means when you're looking for those professional opportunities, you're looking for those summer job opportunities, you have access to this really wonderful legal market from New York all the way down to DC. That gives you lots of options for different areas of law to practice, different types of places to work if you're looking at big firm or smaller firms, public interest, government. You really have everything available to you. And okay, our enrollment options. So our regular division, that would be the full-time day program that's going to take 3 years to complete. We also have our extended division part-time program. That is an evening program. It's designed for working professionals. So you would be attending classes 3 evenings during the week after you were done, a more traditional 9 to 5 work schedule. For this current year, you may have seen on our website that the part-time program is being offered hybrid. That's 2 nights in person on campus and 1 night online in live Zoom classes. So what that means is you're not in a class based around a discussion board. If you had that experience in undergrad, you are in a live class with your fellow classmates, with your faculty member. Will we be offering the hybrid after this year? That's a great question that we don't know the answer to. What it comes down to is the faculty and the students who are taking the classes, what if they've achieved what looks like success. So that means the faculty members have to see that the students are doing as well as they have in previous years, that they're, attaining the same level of competencies in all of the areas that they need to cover during that really vital 1L year. And then also that the students liked it, that they felt like it was worthwhile. They liked having the classes hybrid. So I think I can say that in the admissions office, we hope that it continues, but it really will depend on when those grades come out, when they get the faculty feedback, when they get the student feedback, and then we will know whether the hybrid program will continue. Besides our two divisions, the regular and the extended, we do offer 2 dual degree programs. You can do the JD MBA that is offered with the business school here at Widener. And then we also offer a JD MPH, that's a master's in public health, and that is with Thomas Jefferson University located in Philadelphia. Both of those programs allow you to get 2 degrees in less time than it would to do them one after the other. And then finally, we do have our trial admissions program. That is a program designed for our applicants who are, doing really well in one of the main metrics of assessing potential for success in law school, but not in the other. So that means they've got the undergraduate GPA and the LSAT score, and they're a little weaker in one of those in a way that makes the admissions committee um, not entirely certain of their ability to be successful in law school, but the admissions committee does see potential there. That is a competitive program. It takes about 40 students each summer. But for those who are successful in the program, they meet the required minimum GPA, they are offered a seat in the fall class. So of those 40, there is not a cap. It's not we offer at the 40, but we can only take 5. It's, if you meet the criteria at the end, then you have a seat in the fall class, and there is a merit scholarship that is given to those successful students. Speaking of scholarships, we have a generous scholarship program here at Delaware Law School that we're very proud of. For our incoming students, you are awarded a merit-based scholarship at the time of admission. It's one of the best parts of my job. I put together those acceptance packets and I put your scholarship offer letter in that packet. So you know from the very beginning what it is that we're offering you. It allows you to make a really fair comparison to other offers you receive from other schools. You know exactly what the tuition is and what the scholarship is. Those scholarships are automatically renewed for the full time you're at Delaware Law School. So that's 3 years full time or 4 years part time, so long as you remain in good academic standing, which is the goal anyway, at the minimum, right? You want to be in good academic standing so you're working towards graduation and being successful. So as long as you maintain that, that scholarship will automatically renew. On top of that, for our returning students, so that means after you complete your first year of law school, we have a number of donor-funded scholarships. Those are scholarships that have been endowed by friends of the law school, alumni of the law school, people who believe in the law school, and they're very specific. So unlike that merit scholarship you get when you are accepted, these you would have to apply to, you would have to be eligible for. The terms of each are set by the person who endowed it. So there's as many different sets of rules as there are scholarships, but they can be anything from targeted to our students who are from certain geographic areas, someone who wants to encourage people from South Jersey to attend, or, things like that. They're also targeted towards different areas of law, the area of law that you're looking to practice in. If you have a commitment to public service, a commitment to the Delaware law community, we say apply. Apply for anything you think you're eligible for. The worst thing that can happen is they say no. But, if you're going into law, into the practice, you've got to get used to being told no sometimes. So, it doesn't hurt to apply. And if you get it, then that would further reduce your financial obligations towards your tuition. We have a number of signature programs. Now, keep in mind that the JD is a more generalized degree, so you do not have to declare a major like you did in undergrad. You do not have to participate in a signature program, but if there's something that interests you that aligns with your professional goals for yourself, the signature programs are areas where you know that we have expertise among our faculty. They are researching, they are publishing. There's going to be classwork available to you. There's going to be research opportunities available. There may be clinical opportunities available to you. So these are areas where we think we are particularly strong in our offerings for our students. Obviously, Delaware is the corporate capital for the country. The majority of Fortune 500 companies are incorporated in the state of Delaware. So we do have the Corporate and Business Law Institute. The Tayshelf Advocacy, Technology, and Public Service Institute is what you want to be looking to if you're looking to hone your advocacy skills, your litigation skills. The Global Environmental Rights Institute obviously is going to be looking at environmental rights, environmental law, both here in our local area and around the world. The Family Health Law and Policy Institute is a great resource for those of you interested in that intersection between health and the law. And finally, our Dignity Rights Institute is really a one-of-a-kind institute. You can think of dignity rights as human rights. It's centered on the idea that individuals are entitled to dignity in all areas of their lived experience. So that is access to healthcare, access to housing, access to education. They've done projects in relation to the treatment of people who are actively incarcerated. And so it's a really interesting program. It's both domestic and international in focus, and it has both advocacy and research components to it. So it's really a great program to get involved with if that's an area that is, driving your interest in entering the legal profession. We have a large number of experiential learning opportunities. It's built into what we do here at Delaware Law School. You will be required to take at minimum 12 credits in experiential coursework. That means you're not just learning how to think like a lawyer, how to do research, or how to write like a lawyer. You are actively working as a lawyer under the oversight and guidance of a practicing attorney who's a faculty member. The clinics, I won't read them all to you, as you don't need me to read you text, but I will note that you'll see two that have ED in parentheses afterwards. Those clinics were added by the faculty because they wanted to make sure that our part-time evening students who often cannot, appear for a hearing or, at the courthouse during the day, they have a full-time day job, making sure there was clinical experiences designed for their unique schedule so they still had access to this despite being working professionals while they're in law school. But in addition to that, you'll see that we have externships in a number of areas. Of course, you'll see that some of them align with those signature programs I just talked about with you. I want to call out our Wolcott Fellowship. That is an opportunity to hold a judicial clerkship with a judge in the Delaware Supreme Court or the Delaware Court of Chancery. It's the only way to get access to those positions as a law student in the country. So graduates of law school can apply for clerkships with those courts, but if you want to be working with those judges while you're in law school, the only way to get there is through Delaware law. It is obviously something that you're going to be applying for, that you have to, meet certain criteria. They are competitive, but if you do land one of those coveted spots, you would be getting not just the opportunity to work with these judges, which in itself is an incredible opportunity, but you would be paid a stipend and you would be getting credit for it as well. So it's a really wonderful experience. And then finally, our Public Interest Resource Center. If you are looking to practice law, outside of the firm, outside of government agencies, you're thinking of nonprofits, community partners, community organizations, they're going to help you with that and get that set up. If you have someone that maybe you already are doing work with, you've been volunteering with, you want to continue working with them as a law student, they can help you make sure that gets set up so you can receive credit. Okay. And then again, I'm not going to read this to you, but just to show how active and vibrant our campus is, there's a lot of student organizations. We have our honor societies. If you're interested in an area of law that's not covered by the signature programs, there it is probably here for you. And if it's not here for you, you can create it. Students who, were interested in criminal justice created that organization this year when they saw there wasn't something for them. And finally, I think this is my last slide. Our Career Development Office is a great resource. They're there for you, not just while you're here at law school, and you'll be working with them from orientation on, but they're here afterwards as well. They're not just getting you that first job after graduation. You can come back, and if you want to pivot, you want to go into something new, once you're Delaware Law, you're always Delaware Law. Our Office of Student Affairs is there to support you while you're here with academic support, mental health support. There's numerous mentorship programs built out throughout the school through the different organizations. And then finally, we've got over 13,000 alumni across the country, around the world. I believe we have alumni practicing in all 50 states. So you have a built-in alumni network to support you. Any questions for that part? And you can go off mute or do your hand raise, whatever works for you. No questions.
I think we
Okay.
might have, let me see if I have
Oh,
questions in the chat.
thank you.
Alrighty.
Should I go first or should I let the other person go first?
As I don't see anything in the chat, you're welcome to go, and then we can kind of all take turns, and this can be casual.
So I have a question. I have MBA already from LaSalle University.
Mm.
Do any of those credits transfer over? So there's no transfer of any credit.
No, unfortunately not. If you were doing the dual degree program, it's built into that program, but having the MBA credits from a prior school, those won't be able to transfer over to Delaware law.
So we'd be starting from scratch.
Correct. Correct.
I do have another question.
There was something in the chat. Oh, JD next exam, Donna, I will leave that to Dean Gardner because we will be talking about that in the next section. Delaware Law School is a yellow ribbon school. Yes, our financial aid office is run separately from the admissions office. I know some law schools, they're in the same office, but for us, they're separate. So if you have any questions about that, I would really encourage you to reach out to our financial aid office. They're fantastic, and we'll be able to help, you navigate that system. Oh, and I see that Dean Gardner answered that already, so I'm sorry, I missed that.
Well, always good to, I think, sometimes go over if you miss it in the chat. So that's all good.
Can you talk a little bit more about the family health law and policy interested? I'm interested in family law. So Maya, I'm actually, you know what? Let me get that for you so that everyone has access to it. I'm going to put in the chat a link to that program. First, I'm going to put a link to the signature programs page that has an overview of everything. Everyone in meeting. So, okay, so that is that one, and then I will put the specific one for you, so you have that.
And while you're doing that, Heather Hope, I can kind of jump in and help with Maya here, just so you understand the signature programs. Think of them as like roadmaps, a blueprint we give you if you want to come out on the other side of this with, this area of expertise. So, unlike undergrad, we'll get into this. There isn't like a major that you have to pick, right? When you come to law school, you can explore all your interests. And so the Family Health Law and Policy Institute, what it is it's It's how we present to you. If you're interested in those things, we present to you, here are the courses you're going to want to take when it's time to do electives. Here are the clinics and externships that might be of interest to you. You might want to note the civil defense clinic, which is dealing a lot with family law issues, or you might want to seek out this clerkship with this judge. They're in family court in this jurisdiction. So think about each institute like that. And hopefully that kind of helps. And then, as Heather Hope said, we've got a lot of great information on the website. If you have more questions related to that, please feel free to jump in and ask.
Yeah. Thank you. And then I see Phil asked, and thank you for this question. Do part-time students have an equal shot at scholarships compared to full-time student body? Fantastic question. So when I said that all the acceptance packets go out with a scholarship letter, that is for the part-time applicants as well as the full-time applicants. So everyone gets that merit scholarship. Now, the part-time students, that merit scholarship will be lower than the full-time because your credit load is lower, which means your tuition is lower. We charge on a per credit basis, so you're not going to get a full-time scholarship amount as a part-time applicant, but you will get a scholarship that is comparable based on that credit difference. In terms of the donor scholarships, yes, you are welcome to apply for them just like the full-time students. As far as I know, there are no differences. It's possible there's one or two in there that specifies that it's for a part-time or for a full-time student. But unless the limitation is put on there by the initial donor, you're welcome to apply for any of those. Um, sorry.
I think I
Oh,
can I can as I can pitch them to you as well.
okay,
I think
thank
you had a
you.
question, is the trial admissions program during the day or during the evening?
Okay, so the trial admissions program for the past few years has been offered in the evening online. The faculty have not finalized it for summer 2026, but we expect that they will stick with that. The students like it, the faculty like it, so we don't anticipate it will change, but there's always that chance in the wind. So I will say it hasn't been finalized yet.
Yeah, and I will say that we're probably more, you can rely on it being at night because we want to expand access. It's the piece about whether it's in person or virtual that is always up for grabs. But as Heather Hope mentioned, we're pretty confident it would be at night and online, as it has been for the last several years. Um, Another question. I'm going to skip over. We've got some questions about JD Next and TAP and how it's weighed. I'm going to get into that when we go through the second part of the presentation. So if you don't mind, I will hold that for the rest. We have another question about how many classes will full-time students take each semester?
Okay, so for the full-time program, you should expect to take about 15 to 16 credits during your first year each semester. That number does come down a little bit in the in the 2L and 3L. And then just so everyone's aware, for the part-time, it's going to be more like 12 or 13 credits during the first year. And then again, it would come down a little bit in the second, third, and fourth year of law school.
I
Um,
think, again, unless I've missed anything, it seems like we might have a few questions about the application process. Oh, I think we have someone's hand raised. I'm so sorry. Is it Ajane?
Yes, Ajane.
Oh,
So my name is
okay.
Ajane Williams. I had a quick question about the TEP program. I'm not sure if you're about to get to this, but I was wondering, so how successful is the TEP program? Like those that are enrolled into it. I know you guys said that you accept 40 people into the program. So out of that 40, how many people are successfully admitted into the fall class?
I don't have that statistic.
I was gonna say, so I was gonna say it ranges. So as Heather Hope mentioned, there is no, if everybody passes, everybody gets in. If nobody passes, nobody gets in. Now, historically, neither of those two extremes have happened. In the last 2 years, the pass rate has been, or rather, I say the last 3 years has been anywhere from 25 to 40% pass rate. Which I know sounds really low, but you have to remember that this program is for students who, um, as Heather Hope mentioned, maybe there's some discrepancy between the academic indicators. We're not quite sure, and so it is a difficult program because it is testing kind of which one is telling us if you'll be successful in law school or not. And there isn't any. It's not a watered down version of law school, so it is tough. It is like you. It is like being in law school. It is the same first year courses, and of course a truncated, right, a shorter version that you'll be taking again if you're admitted. So I hope that those statistics, 25 to 40% doesn't make anyone nervous, but it should tell you that it is a competitive, it is a difficult program. Um, like I said, if everybody passes, everybody's in though. So that statistic is different year to year. And because there's no ranking. So I hope that that's helpful and gives you more of a sense. If you are a student that is offered an opportunity to be in this program, we kind of give everything, outline all that stuff so you can kind of make an informed choice about whether or not it is a program you want to do. So I hope that that's helpful.
And I think there's a hand up from Cindy.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, my camera is off. So,
Okay.
quick question. So I'm interested in applying for the part-time JD, which is normally should be learning or the classes should be happening during the evening times. But
Mhm.
let's say currently I have to apply for the part-time. But let's see next year or the year after, I may have more time. I want to take more courses. Is that something can be happen, or can only be on the campus during the evening time? I cannot be on the campus for daytime.
Okay. Oh, great question. So, um, while you're so okay, let me back up for 1 second. Um, at Delaware Law, at every single law school, you have a set curricula that you have to get through before you start taking your electives courses. And those are the courses that lay the foundation for everything you're going to do later. There's no reason to take BizWorks if you haven't taken contracts. You will not know what's happening, right? So it lays the foundation. It's also the courses that are going to help you ultimately when you're preparing for the bar exam. So every law school, those classes are your 1L year. Part-time students, it actually extends to 3 semesters because again, you're taking less credits, so it takes longer to get through those required credits. So if you enter Delaware Law School as a part-time student, excuse me, you can start taking electives after you complete that required coursework. And if you want to take those classes during the daytime instead of in the evening, that's perfectly fine. There's no limitation. And that's true for the full-time students as well. If there's a class you want to take in the evening, once you finish that 1L required coursework, if you see that there's a class that it fits your schedule better in the evening, you can take it. No one's going to say, well, you can't take that because you're full-time and that's offered after 5. That's not how that works. But as a part-time student, if you are then looking to increase your course load beyond what is considered part-time, then you're looking at changing your division, changing from part-time student to full-time student, which you can do, but you have to do it in consultation with the Office of Student Affairs. Your academic advisor might get involved in that, depending on where you're at academically. So it's not just a matter of I want to be full-time now. There is a little bit of a process, but for the most part, it's easily approved as long as you've completed that required coursework.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I see a few other questions in the chat. I'm going to do them a little out of order just because I saw a follow-up question about the TAP program, saying if you have a lower LSAT score, does that still guarantee you a spot in the fall? Once you're offered a spot in TAP, which is what we call the trial admissions program, your performance in that program is what earns you admission to the law school. What was in your application got you to that point, right? To have an opportunity. From there on out, if you pass, if you're successful in the program, you pass, you're offered automatic entry into the law school in the fall, regardless of what was in your application. So it really is performance based in that program. I saw another question about what's the bar exam first time pass rate at Delaware Law School. And so we have a lot of students who take a lot of different jurisdictions. So we have students who are taking Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, I would say primarily, but we also have a lot of students who are taking New York, Maryland, everywhere in between and beyond. So for us and for most law schools, what we are looking at is our ultimate bar pass rate. And so our ultimate bar pass rate, and I probably should know this number by now, but I think it's 83%. And that just takes into consideration all of the jurisdictions that our students take within 2 years from when they graduate. And that's so we can capture everyone. Not everyone takes the July bar exam. They might take the February one. They might take, so that's what it's capturing. I will tell you, because I was just recently in a meeting on this, our first time bar pass rate in both PA in New Jersey was very good this year. I think in Delaware it was 80%, and in Pennsylvania it was about 75. Don't hold me to that exactly. I know they are nearish to those percentages, but the point is that our first time bar passers, are ready, and we build bar pass prep into the curriculum. It's woven in really from day one, all the way through to when you take, a course that is literally called bar prep. It's woven into bar boot camps that the dean holds. So we make sure that our students are ready. But if you want to know any of our information, any law school's information, you can go to our website. All of our required disclosures by the American Bar Association, you will see our bar pass rate, so you can kind of look into that. And again, I would recommend you look at that for all law schools as you're considering it. We'll go back to TAP for a minute because it seems to be the popular topic tonight. Additional question for TAP performance: what courses do we expect to take in the TAP program? Yes. So again, just like the format and the specific dates of the program, that is subject to change every year. What I will tell you is, for the last several years, it's been a combination of legal methods, property and torts, or legal methods, torts, and contracts. It's a combination of 2 doctrinal courses and 1 legal writing course. And considering there's not that many doctrinal courses in your first year to choose from, it's really some combination of those. Again, you will get notice of that if you're a student who's invited to that program. You will have notice of that at the time of your offer to join the program, so you can make a choice about it. And then finally, I'll take this last question, and then I am going to move on to the rest of our presentation, although we can absolutely circle back to any of these conversations. You guys all have really great questions, so I appreciate it. Word on the street is there is a lot of attrition first year. Is that true? So again, back to if you want to check out bar pass rates, another thing that you can check out for law schools that's on our ABA, our American Bar Association disclosures, is our attrition rate. We, certainly at every law school, ours included, there are some students at the end of their first year that are academically dismissed. It's not a large group, but I would say by and large, we also have some students who decide it's not for them. Or who maybe, want to transition to another institution. So when you say attrition, it can mean a lot of things, right? It could mean academic, it could mean, personal reasons, withdrawals, it could mean transferring to other schools. But I would say our attrition rate isn't very high. I would say, every law school is going to have a little bit of that. But again, if you're curious about where we fall, certainly check out our ABA disclosures, and for every law school you're looking at. Law school is hard, right? First year is the hardest. We know that, but when you've earned your seat here, we believe in you that you can do it, and we're here to support you through that. So it is not at all that we're trying to weed people out, right? We're trying to make sure that you're ready to take the next step, which is your first year classes, which is the bar, which is practice, all those things along in your journey. So I hope that is helpful. Like I said, I know you probably have many more questions, and I could talk about just this topic, this part of the presentation, probably for the whole evening, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I want to get through the second portion, and I think it will answer some other questions that have come up. But again, please feel free at the end of this. We can always come back to things. So I am going to start talking about, we're going to transition away a little bit from, Delaware law specifically, the programs, the opportunities, the experiences, and more the nuts and bolts of our application process, which again, I think and I hope will be helpful to you, whether you're in this process now, right? You're applying for 2026, or you're thinking about a future cycle, this information will apply. So you can store this away if this is not the year you're applying, and certainly, it'll still be useful. So we're going to go over some Delaware law admissions criteria, some application components, some application dates, some important deadlines you'll need to kind of keep in mind, and then just ways that we can stay connected. So our admissions criteria, we take a holistic approach to application review. And so certainly we're looking for students with strong academic records, whether that's established during your undergrad or your undergrad and grad, right? We know some folks have gone on to graduate programs. But we're looking at, everything beyond that. There are ways for you to build skills in all kinds of ways through your experiences, whether that's, in the context of your undergraduate institution, your graduate institution, your work environment. So we really take a holistic approach to the application review process so that we can get to know, what kind of skills, what kind of, experiences that you'll bring to the law school class to enhance it. We welcome diversity in all of its forms, and we can talk about that in a minute. So the application components are pretty straightforward. These are similar for most law schools in terms of what you need to do. Not all law schools have the same required and optional buckets, though. So I've listed out our required and our optional components here so you can see them. I would say as you're looking at this, optional means optional truly, but I would say think of optional as encouraged, right? Any opportunity that you can do to enhance your application, let us get to know you better, really just helps the admissions committee. So you'll see the required components we'll go through one at a time and the optional. So the first required component is a bachelor's degree. You have to be in pursuit of a bachelor's degree and have completed it by the time you enroll in law school. That is a requirement. But there's no specific major required. So, there is no right or wrong path to law school. In fact, we often have students who come from, what they deem not, less traditional paths to law school, and all of those disciplines are valued because, again, as I mentioned, we are looking for a diverse class, and that means diverse academic disciplines and backgrounds and majors. So we think that that enhances the law school class. I will say, if you're thinking about, well, what majors should I be pursuing, depending on where you all are on the process. Even though there's no right or wrong major, I would say that it's really great if you can get an opportunity to do writing and even reading intensive courses. There's going to be a lot of volume, right, in what you read and what you write, what you research in law school. So I think anytime that you can build those skills, I think is a really great opportunity. Logic courses are helpful just to kind of get you, again, building those reasoning skills before you get to us. When we're looking at the bachelor's degree, certainly we're looking at your cumulative grade point average, but that's not the end of our review, right? We're looking at all of, every corner of the transcripts that you provide to us. We're going to look at the courses you took. We're going to look at the course loads, look at grade trends, did you challenge yourself? All those things that we learn from the transcript. So know that it's not just about one number, right? It's about kind of the whole story of your academic journey. Standardized tests. So I think this will speak a little bit to some of the questions that I saw in the chat earlier. And I apologize, this slide is a lot of information. So if we have questions, we can go through this kind of at the end. But I think the big takeaway from this slide is that we do have multiple standardized test options, but a standardized test score is required. We are primarily looking at the LSAT. That is the primary and preferred standardized test of Delaware Law School. We will consider multiple scores. We do not average those scores. Certainly we can see trends, right? So you want to be mindful of that, but we are going to place emphasis on your highest score. I think it's really easy to have a bad day. I don't think it's so easy to have a random good day, right? So think of it like that. And you have really a lot of opportunities to take this test. It's administered through LSAC, which is the Law School Admission Council. They administer it digitally, both remotely or in person at a testing center several times throughout the year. I believe it's 8 times a year, so lots of opportunities to take it. If you're interested, in learning more, I would suggest going to lsac.org for more information. They have all their dates, deadlines, registration deadlines, things that you need to know. So that's the LSAT. And again, by and large, most of our applicants are coming to us as LSAT applicants. That said, we do have 2 other options. That is the GRE and the JD Next. Those options are available to applicants if they have not already taken an LSAT. That's the big takeaway from this slide, right? So if you are not an LSAT applicant, if you do not have a reportable LSAT score, then you can look into these options to take either the GRE or the JD Next. They have their own processes. You'll see this on this slide. What I will say about each of them, and again, I think this speaks a little to the question, I wouldn't think of the GRE or the JD Next as I'm really bad at tests, so I'll take an easier one. Neither of these are easy. They just are designed in a different way to measure the same skills. And so think of it like there's some students who really preferred the SAT versus the ACT, right? And vice versa. I think of it more like that. You have to find if one of these tests you feel like, is a better fit for you, that you take those. I wouldn't look at it as avoiding the LSAT to take an easier test because none of these are easy. I hope that answers some of the questions that came up in the chat. I would recommend if you're not familiar with the GRE or JD Next to visit these websites that are here on this slide so you can learn more. ETS.org is the GRE, which some of you may already know about if you've gone to grad school. And JD Next is we don't have the link here. I apologize for that, but it is administered by Aspen. If you just punch in JD Next into Google, it will pop up, and more information about what that's all about. That one is very different from these other two tests in that there is a required 8-week course that you have to do in order to sit for the test. You can't kind of uncouple those. So that is a commitment that you have to be aware of as well. But again, happy to answer any questions that you have about this and how we kind of look at those. There is no, well, certainly I mentioned that the LSAT is maybe our preference and our primary. You're not disadvantaged in any way if you decide not to go that route, if you don't have a reportable LSAT score. In terms of TAP, right now, in order to be eligible for consideration for TAP, you do have to be an LSAT applicant. And I think that was a question in the chat. So know that too. Know that, if that's something that you're thinking you want to be considered for, know that is, the path would be the LSAT. Of course, outright admission is the goal, right? If you don't have to go through TAP. So you have to do what's best for you. And so we have students asking us, well, which one should I take if I've not taken one? You really have to reflect yourself, think about what's best for you, look into all of these tests and kind of go forward from there. What I will say too is I imagine we are not the only law school you will apply to, and I hope it's not. I hope you will, take time to look and find the best place that works for you. We hope it's us, but I think it's important, to do your homework, do your research. You may notice that as you're looking for law schools, there are not as many law schools that accept these alternate tests. And so that may influence which one you pick if you want to have more options in terms of applications. Certainly more and more schools are taking these on, but just something to be mindful of. And again, I'm happy to chat about this if you all have questions. The next required component is a personal statement. This is actually one of my favorite, but I realize it probably is students' least favorite because it's difficult to talk about yourself, right? And it's difficult when you have to advocate for yourself. But as Heather Hope said earlier, you're going to be an attorney. This is the time to start those skills, and you really have to be your own best advocate. And so we don't have a prompt that is specific. It is very broad. But again, it's designed that way because we believe you know yourself best. You know what's important, what we need to know, the skills, the story that we need to know in order to see the value you're going to bring to the class. So while I say our prompt is broad, we do have some helpful tips here. We always think that information that you want to weave into this story, into this piece, is any academic or professional skill sets that demonstrate your potential to succeed here. You might want to talk about why law school. You might want to talk about how you intend to use your law degree. You might want to just describe your journey here, the things you've had to overcome to this point, and how it's led you here. So it's really open. And I would say, you want to be concise. We typically recommend 2 to 3 double-spaced type pages. And I realize that seems very short, but we want you to be focused and concise and be able to tell your story in a way that, is focused. You want to include information as it exists today. We know you all have, big goals and we want to help you achieve them. But I think sometimes students, fall into talking too much about who they're going to be in the future. We want to know who you are now. We want to know who you're coming to the law school as, because we need your voice. I would say, write several drafts until it's perfect. The first draft should not be the one you submit, because in addition to this being our best way to get to know you beyond your numbers, that's why it's my favorite part. In addition to it serving that function, it also serves as a writing sample. As an attorney, right? You're going to be writing a lot, and we are going to teach you how to write. So you by no means have to, come ready for legal writing, but we will be looking at this as a writing sample as well. So several drafts. We want it to be in your own words, your own voice. But if you have a trusted peer, professor, colleague who you want to say, can you just read this and make sure there are no gaps? Does this make sense to you? That's okay. We want you to have it kind of polished and ready to go because it is, a really great opportunity for us to, as I mentioned, get to know you beyond your numbers. The next required component is our character and fitness section. When I was a law school applicant, I thought that I was going to have some physical test. I didn't realize that this was really just a question about misconduct, but that's all it is. And so it's really simple. This is the question: have you ever received an academic warning, been placed on probation, disciplined, suspended, or dismissed by any learning institution or licensing board for any reason? Again, hopefully pretty straightforward. We're not focusing on your criminal history. Some other schools may ask you that. We are not concerned with that. We don't want that information. We just need a yes or no to this question. And it's important just to fully disclose, be honest. It's really just an exercise in doing those things. If you do answer yes to this question, you will be prompted to provide a brief addendum on what happened, and it could be as simple as I was placed on academic probation. This is what was going on. I worked with my advisor and my writing center and I developed study habits and look, I did better, but that's what happened. It can really be as simple as that. We, if you have questions, we're always here to answer them, but we also recommend students take a look at the Board of Bar Examiners website, which is listed here on this slide. From that website, you can pick any jurisdiction you're interested in sitting for the bar. They have their own set of character and fitness questions, one of which is related to this. So if you're wondering kind of what we're looking for, what's going on in terms of character and fitness, what it means, that's always a great resource. But please always feel free to reach out. We don't want anyone to be stressed. There are not many things that you could have done that will change an otherwise competitive application. It's really just important that you're honest. So now we're moving into the, like I said, optional components, but I really want to call them encouraged because, again, the best thing that you can do for yourself is help us get to know better your voice, your skills, your experiences, all the things that are going to make you a valuable member of the community and able to make meaningful contributions to the law school class. So when you can, take advantage of these. The first of which are letters of recommendation. We allow up to three. But again, not required. So if you have one or two, that's okay. We suggest you choose someone who can talk about you. Um, it's more important that they're someone who can talk about you, who knows you, your work, your skills, versus what their title is. I think it's really ineffective when you ask, well, I know a judge and I think he'll just write me a letter. And the judge doesn't really even know you that well or hasn't worked with you. What's probably better is if you had, a teaching assistant who you worked with outside of class, somebody who knows your skills. So we're not concerned with the status or title of your recommender. We are concerned with how they know you, what they know about you, and what they can tell us about you and why you'd be successful here. I really think letters of recommendation stand to enhance your application because it allows the admissions committee to get to know you through the lens of someone who knows you really well. That's really beneficial. I would suggest giving your recommenders time. So if you know who they are, ahead of time, reach out to them and let them know. I'm thinking about asking you for this. Would this be something you'd be able to do? You have time for. You'll want to talk to them, maybe remind them of your accomplishments, if you have specific work or activities you're proud of. I think it's always good if you can to provide, maybe it's an employer you're asking, maybe it's a colleague, give them your resume and remind them of the things that you've done. Give them the information that they need so they can write you a really great recommendation letter. And give them information about how to submit the letters and what they have to do logistically so that you don't have to stress about that. Another optional component is resume and additional addenda. So we do not require a resume, but again, I strongly encourage you to consider putting one together, submitting it. I really think this allows you to free up space elsewhere in your application to provide, information through the resume, skills, things like that. So that you can use that kind of precious real estate in your personal statement to really tell your story. And think of the resume as, opportunity for us to get to know your skills. We are not just looking for legal experience. We are looking for everything because there are so many transferable skills and all the things that you do, whether it's internships, work experience, leadership roles on campus, work in your community, volunteer projects, all those things. There are skills that you're building that are really necessary for law school. So again, I hope you would take advantage of that opportunity to to tell us more about yourself. And then additional addenda, really what this is, and you'll want to use this wisely, carefully. Not everyone's going to need these. Think of these as opportunities to fill in any gaps. So when you put your whole package together, you're looking it over and you're thinking, I'm not sure how they're going to understand what happened in this semester when my grades dipped. I kind of just want to give some context to that. Or I want them to understand, why there's such a big jump in my LSAT score. It's because I did X, Y, and Z in prep. A few sentences, no longer than a paragraph, really all you need. But think of that more as if you need to fill in the gaps, if you want to add context to something, that you have that space to do it. Again, use that wisely. A lot of students don't need to be using that. And then finally, the last optional component is our enhancement statement. So this is an opportunity for you to share individual personal life experiences, be it discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise, that demonstrate challenges bested, skills built, or lessons learned that have shaped you as the person you are today. So think of this as an opportunity to tell more of your story, in as a compliment to your personal statement. We don't want you reiterating your personal statement and writing it twice, right? We want something that is going to enhance your overall application, hence the name enhancement statement. We give, again, a long list of what you can think about as ideas. It's in the application itself, but it is a broad range of things. And again, it's just an opportunity. Not every student has to use it. There is no disadvantage to not submitting one. It is optional. But if you have more to your story or another experience, that you want to share that is really, why you're here going to law school, why you're going to be successful because of it, we welcome that. Just like the personal statement, though, it is a writing sample, so you want to be focused, you want to be taking the time to polish it, and truly assessing if it's necessary, if it's something that complements your application, if it's something that enhances it. So I want to pivot quickly before we turn to more questions, some application details for Delaware Law School. And we have standard admissions here because we do have some partnership programs with some undergraduate universities. If you're a member of any of those, I'm happy to chat about them. But by and large, this is what every applicant to the law school is looking at in terms of their timeline. Application process is paperless. All applications are submitted through LSAC. It's another reason why it's good to check out their website. If you're already looking at the LSAT, also look into creating your free account and looking at how you would be submitting your applications. All roads lead through LSAC, so just good to get acquainted with them. We do admit on a rolling basis, so we opened our application in October, on October 1st of this year. For those of you who are not in the process, you're looking at a later year, it will likely be the same. So October 1st, application opens. And then our application fee is waived until February 1st. And again, same thing. That's usually the same deadline every year on year. Application deadline is May 15th every year. So you have all of that time from the time the application opens in October all the way to May to get us your application. Certainly because we are admitting on a rolling basis, we always encourage students to apply early. I just think that gives you the best opportunities. But you certainly have until May 15th to do that. You can check your application status online, which we call our ASO, at any time through LSAC or through our website. And that just allows you to track where you are through the process. Although, certainly we put our faces up at the beginning of this program. You see, we're a friendly bunch. You can always reach out to us, ask, what's going on if you haven't heard or if you're confused about something. We're always happy to chat. So at this point, do we have other questions? They can be about anything I just spoke about, which I know was a lot of information in a short amount of time. We can also certainly chat about anything that Heather Hope mentioned. I just want to give you all this opportunity to ask what you need to ask. I should also mention that you can always get in touch with us after this event. We have virtual office hours. I believe those are on Tuesdays right now, right, Heather Hope? Those are, you can drop in anytime, speak with, any one of us that's there in virtual office hours, ask any questions you have. We also can always set up a one-on-one meeting if those times don't work for you. We have campus tours that our students lead, which is really great because you get to pick their brains too. So you can always connect with us that way. But again, I want to turn things over to make sure that we have time to answer some more questions. So we got.
So I see great question. What was our average LSAT for admissions? So that of course changes year over year. For our Current class that just started for fall 2025, excuse me, our average LSAT was a 152, and our average undergraduate GPA was a 3.33. That, of course, I'm sorry, I'm saying average because that's what your question said. It's actually not average, it's median. So if there's any data wonks in here, those are our medians, not our averages. So that means that there are people above those numbers and then below those numbers. So if you haven't quite hit that, that does not mean that there isn't a path to admissions for you at Delaware Law. It just is where our median lands.
An idea of how large the average class is. Yeah, that's a great question. So last year the class was slightly bigger than we anticipated. We're hoping this year that we're right around 250. And how that breaks down is about 40 in the part-time program and what would that be? 210 in the full-time. And so I know that seems really big. But we break down those full-time sections into sections, smaller sections. So those can be anywhere from, 55, 60 students or whatever way we have to work it so that they're smaller. And you travel with that group throughout the year, so that feels even smaller at times. You get to know people really well, get to know your faculty really one-on-one. You'll also have a legal writing class in your first year that is capped at 20 students or maybe 25. So you'll be, even smaller there. And then certainly as time goes on, you're going to be in smaller and smaller classes as people are picking electives in seminars. You could be in a much smaller group, in a much smaller classroom even because of the size. I have a question here about if you retake the LSAT and score higher than you did when you initially applied, will a larger merit scholarship award be considered? That's a great question. So if you are registered for a future test, we actually hold your application for review because we don't want to review it piecemeal without all the information, right? So if we see that you're registered for a future test, we will hold off on that because of how our process works, right? We're looking at all of the components for admission and for scholarship that we want all that information, at one time. Again, if you have any more questions about that, happy to answer them. How much does on-campus housing cost, and is it paid for by semester or by the year? Great question. So for those folks who don't know, we have on-campus housing, 2 dorm buildings and a number of townhomes, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. Those are usually for upper level students though. Housing costs, I believe last year,
it was 7,420 per year, payable in 2 equal installments. And I did link the housing office website in the chat for everyone.
I see a question about financial aid process. Highly recommend that you get in touch with our financial aid office. It's really straightforward and simple. If you are admitted, we do put in your your acceptance packet, a checklist of things you need to do, including a financial aid checklist. So it is pretty straightforward. But if you have any questions, please reach out to our folks in financial aid. They are ready, willing, and able to help you. And so we encourage you to do that. I see a comment about old LSAT scores. So you took the LSAT 10 years ago. Will we get that score? No. LSAT scores expire. So if you've taken it more than 5 years ago, we will not see that. And it also means you can't use it even if you liked it. So we do need to have a report. And that's why I mentioned a reportable LSAT score because, right, you could have taken it before it's expired. All righty, what else we got?
So someone asked if there is a deadline to apply to TAP. So you first of all, there is not a separate application for TAP. I'm not sure if we said that. I don't think we talked about that. But so there's one application. So you would be applying to the law school. And then if you were not admitted a spot outright based on the strength of the application, you were automatically put into consideration for TAP. So the admissions committee would review that same application and decide whether or not a TAP offer would be extended to you. So it's not a separate application. Now, Dean Gardner did say our application deadline is May 15th. The fact of the matter is, come May 15th, there likely will be no spots available in TAP at that point. Again, it's only 40 seats and approximately. And the program itself we expect would be starting sometime in June. So a May 15th application, there's a chance it wouldn't be fully read and the committee wouldn't have had time to consult on your application in time for TAP to start. So if you're looking at, you think TAP is your route into Delaware Law School, I would definitely recommend getting that application in by February, maybe early March, but you might be making things more difficult for yourself at that point. Now, if you're planning on applying in January, that's the one comment I saw, one question I saw. I think January is great. It's a great time to apply for TAP. That also does mean for those of you who maybe have already applied and you're thinking TAP is your route, or you're planning on applying, before the end of this calendar year, those offers will not go out until the faculty finalize the program. And that is for a fairness and equity. We don't want to say, hey, we'd like to send you an offer for TAP. We don't know the dates. We don't know the tuition. We don't know the faculty. That's not an offer. That's, a hope and a dream. So we will not extend any TAP offers until the faculty finalize the program, which means those offers will be going out in spring.
Yeah, and if I could put a finer point on that, just to share historical kind of timelines, we tend to start sending out TAP offers late February, early March, sometimes late March, depending on all those things Heather Hope mentioned. So that's really the timeline. I just wanted to put a finer point on that. I see Ajane has her hand up. I want to let her talk. And I know we're a few minutes over, so we'll take her question. We have one more in the chat, but then I'm certainly happy to stay on for anybody who has more questions. This has been a great conversation. You've all come totally prepared and engaged, so I love to see it. But go ahead, Ajane.
Yes. So I was just wondering, what kind of support do you guys provide for 1L students, also TAP students? Because I know that it's really rigorous. So like, what kind of support do you guys have for us?
So I'll start with TAP first. So TAP is a pretty short program, right? It's about 5 weeks. But during those 5 weeks, our professors have pretty extensive office hours, are kind of there to help you. So there's tons of support in that way. We do also usually ask our previous TAP students who are successful to come back and speak in the program, talk to you all, so that they are our support because they have just recently gone through it. So that's TAP. For our students, so once everybody's here in the fall with us, I mean, there's tons of support. So you're going to have more supports, more mentors, and you know what to do with. So I would say that there's support in a few ways. One, through the curriculum. So designed in your first year, there is something called an applied learning lab. I think that's a great way for you to apply what you're learning, right? And have this kind of active engagement that our professors work through with you. We also have a pretty robust academic success program. It's got offerings, anything from, one-on-one, if you need tutors, if you do group sessions, workshops, you need help with your legal writing, tons of opportunities through the academic success program. Our professors who run that program are phenomenal. So we have that in the way of support. We obviously have an Office of Student Affairs, which they offer tons of resources, whether that's academic or personal, right? We care about your well-being as well. We have a counselor through that program, lots of mental health resources. So again, that you can be taking care of yourself as a student, but also as a person. Our CDO office is really engaged. They will, you'll probably get to know them at orientation and you'll be meeting with them, within the first month. They're really engaged and they have mentorship programs that match you with alums. Student Affairs and our Student Bar Association have mentorship programs that match you with current students. I mean, as I mentioned, the list goes on and on. If you're part of one of those student groups that Heather Hope put up on her slide, they have mentorship programs, outline banks, study sessions. So there's tons of ways that we make sure you as a 1L, we have, you're wrapped up in the community, right? We have our arms around you and you're kind of on the inside track. So I hope that that's helpful. I could probably go on and on about this. We have a really big first generation population, first generation law student. So supporting students is not foreign to us, right? We are here to help folks build their network, build their skills, build their confidence. And it's kind of part of who we are as a school that believes in expanding access to the legal profession. So I hope that that is helpful. I see more campus housing was some questions asked and answered there. And then there is a question about how many applications for the full-time program do you receive on average? That's a great question. I know total applications last year was around 1,400. Certainly that breakdown is the majority of those are full-time, and then part-time is obviously smaller. It's just more for a specific group. Those numbers are all on those ABA disclosures if you ever want to know that for us or any other law school. Um, we'll take one more question, and then I do want to just do a little wrap up. But again, I am happy to stay on for anybody. This has been a great group. So Julian, I want to give you the last question.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you guys do more of a collaborative support system for your incoming students, or is it competition based like other schools? How is the environment for the students?
I am so glad you asked this, Julian, and I think this is going to be a really great note to end on. So, this is when people ask me, what is so special about Delaware Law School and what distinguishes you? I really think it's the team culture here. We even many years ago when I was a law student, our student affairs dean said, look to your left, look to your right, and I thought, oh my gosh, here it comes. She's going to say we're not all going to make it, and instead she said, look to your left, look to your right. These are your classmates, your colleagues, your friends. These are your co-counsel, these are your opposing counsel, these are your judges, these are your clients. We're all in this together. And that's truly something, and that was many years ago when I was a law student, that is truly something that has continued here and persisted. We are really big on teamwork, team culture. You'll hear our dean talk a lot about that, right? When he talks about bar pass, it's not just you going to study, it's you grabbing your friend and that friend grabbing their friend and them grabbing another friend, and we all kind of walk over the finish line together. So I would say it's kind of ingrained in our DNA. Um, Certainly law school is competitive, right? Everyone wants to get the A. Not everyone can get the A, but I would say that we have a culture here that isn't one of, you know, um, I'm succeeding because you're not. It's we're all succeeding, and people are students, will share their notes if they noticed you missed something. Somebody will help you with your outline. If nobody is hiding books. It's just really not that. And I know there's so many things out there, stories about law school, but whatever you've heard about them, that is not a Delaware law. We truly are a community here, built on mutual respect and frankly we want to celebrate one another. When we get wins, we all celebrate them. So I would end this as I know this was great that we could all meet virtually, but if you have a chance to come visit us, I think it's so great when you can connect with our students, our faculty, because I think you'll see pretty quickly what I just described. And so on that note, I do want to be respectful of time. I know we've gone over, but I hope that this was useful and valuable, and even the extended time was well spent. I want to just thank you all so much for joining us tonight, so that you get to know us a little better. We're looking forward to getting to know all of you through the application process, and so we're just really grateful for you to be here tonight. So thank you so much. Please reach out if you need more information or want to connect with us. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing all of your applications. Have a great night.